Well, once again, I didn't pay my power bill, so my electricity's out. Just joking. This is just my routine, as you know. The candles, the candlelight entrance. Well, I thought it was time to give the Lord his due. And I had this on my mind, actually came to mind yesterday. I took a day, usually I take longer than a day to do my research and ruminate on everything prayerfully. But for some reason I want to just talk about, I woke up with it yesterday morning. When God walked among us, I was thinking of heaven. That he's not here, he's in heaven, but there was a time God, the Father, walked among us. And that would have been the Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eden before the fall. I got a bit of a sore throat, so bear with me, I'm sorry. White paint, I've been painting my interior of my house, so it looks like I got it all off. And I just started thinking about that when God walked among us. And when we were innocent, before we became tainted. And I know you know the story, I'm sure all of you know the story of the fall of man in the garden. With the tree, the forbidden fruit. But because I like to keep things scripturally based as possible, I'm going to read to you just chapter 2, starting at verse 15 of the apple, or the forbidden fruit. And I did use the Ignatius Bible for this, Catholic Bible, study Bible. And it's the first time I've used it really for anything, but there's nothing in there. It's nothing different. It's got a lot of really good, really easy to follow study notes. Very well organized. So, and it pointed out some things that never occurred to me. It kind of answered a few riddles about that whole story where I had to go, duh, why didn't I think of that? I guess because duh, I don't know. So I'm going to read this to you. Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. The Lord then took the man and settled him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and to care for it. The Lord gave the man this order: you are free to eat from any of the trees in the garden, except the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Except the tree of knowledge of good and evil. From that tree you shall not eat. When you eat from it, you shall die. And let me pause here for a moment. I used to think, well, God told him when you eat from it, you'll die. Like it's poison, you'll drop dead. Like it's full of cyanide or something, you know? But yet they ate from it and they didn't die. Well, what I found in the notes here in this Bible, study notes made it quite clear. You probably know this, but it never occurred to me. When they ate from the tree, the forbidden tree, of the knowledge of good and evil, they were immortal, before that, in the garden. You're in the Garden of Eden. You're not going to get sick, grow old, and die. It's God's garden. Like heaven. I always thought of Garden of Eden where he liked to take time out when he walked among us, when we were innocent like children. And Adam and Eve were innocent like children are. But when they ate from the fruit, they lost their immortality. And both Adam and Eve lived a long, long, long time, but they did both die, grow old and die. And they're, some of them, Cain and Abel, first murder story. So yes, they were no longer immortal once they ate from that. Okay, I'm going to pick up. But that's what I believe when God said, when you eat from this, you will surely die. Means you will lose your immortality, on earth, of this body. They were of flesh. Going on, on verse 18, chapter 2. The Lord God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper suited to him." Oh. God knows. He knows. God knows. He's no stranger to loneliness and all of it. We have a wonderful Lord. But he didn't plan that we'd be fallen at that time. All right, I'm moving on. Sorry. So the Lord God formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds of the air, and he brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Whatever the man called each living creature was then its name. The man gave names to all the tame animals, all the birds of the air, all the wild animals, but none proved to be a helper. None of them proved to be a helper suited to the man. So the Lord God cast a deep sleep on the man, and while he was asleep, he took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh. The Lord God then built the rib that he had taken from the man into a woman. When he brought her to the man said, "This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, for out of man this one has been taken, woman." This is why a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, and the two of them become one body. The man and his wife were both naked, yet they felt no shame. They're walking around naked, but felt no shame. Okay, chapter 3, and I'm going to read up to the point of the fall. Now the snake was the most cunning of all wild animals that the Lord God had made. He asked the woman, "Did God really say, 'You shall not eat from any of the trees in this garden'?" The woman answered the snake, "We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden. It is only about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden that God said, 'You shall not eat of it. You shall not eat it or even touch it, or else you will die.' But the snake said to the woman, 'You certainly will not die. God knows well that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like gods, who know good and evil.' The woman saw that the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eyes, and the tree was desirable for gaining wisdom. So she took some of its fruit and ate it. And she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made loincloths for themselves. When they heard the sound of the Lord walking about the garden at the breezy time of the day, which is supposed to mean at the end of the day, that's what the notes are saying, the man and his wife hid themselves from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. They hid from God. Never would they have done that before. The Lord God called to the man and asked him, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard you in the garden, but I was afraid, because I was naked, so I hid." He knew he's in trouble. Then God asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree which I had forbidden you to eat?" Then God asked, Then the man replied, "The woman whom you put here with me, she gave me the fruit from the tree, so I ate it." The Lord then asked the woman, "What is it you have done?" The woman answered, "The snake tricked me, so I ate it." Then the Lord God said to the snake, "Because you have done this, cursed are you among all animals, tame or wild. On your belly you shall crawl, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. Now, I'll interject. I'm to understand from the notes that they suspect that before this fall, the serpent wasn't a snake. He could walk and communicate with people. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offsprings and her. They will strike you at your head, and you will strike at their heel. To the woman, he said, I will intensify your toil in childbearing, in pain. You shall bring forth children, yet your urge shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. To the man he said, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, you shall not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you shall eat its yield all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bear for you, and you shall eat the grass of the field. By the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread, until you return to the ground from which you were taken. For you are dust, and to dust you shall return. All right, that's all I need to read. So at that time, their eyes were opened. They disobeyed God. They were cast out of the Garden of Eden. And they lost their immortality. Among some other things, life became difficult. And the snake, the serpent, which whatever it was before, maybe it was a different form that could walk, but now it became a snake. Just slither around in the dirt, no arms or legs. Oh. I was thinking about it. Oh, God. I was thinking a lot of things about it, actually. How much we hang on to our lives here. But if it's so great here that we hold on to our lives here, this kind of does and doesn't have anything to do with this. God would be here among us. But God isn't among us because it's fallen. So how much better will it be where God is at, that we're headed to, thanks to His Son? So, if it's so great here that we we just want to stay here and not grow old and live forever here, God would be here with us, but it's fallen because of this. And we are fallen. But it also occurred to me one lesson from this. The takeaway for me from this was, like the angels, Adam and Eve had free choice. And the angels apparently had free choice too, because some of them rebelled against God. They chose to. And they followed Lucifer and were cast out. And Adam and Eve had free choice, and they used that free choice and they turned against God. They disobeyed Him. They didn't rebel against God, but they sinned against Him. And there is differences between, the fallen angels and the fall of man. But we have free choice. God doesn't make us love Him. And that's the same with the story in the Garden of Eden. The man and the woman had free choice. Maybe that was a test for them and they failed it, to see if they would eat from that tree. The tree of wisdom, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Maybe it was a test. I don't know. There's not much for this talk really, but we have free will. God doesn't make us love Him. God didn't force the angels to love Him. But God doesn't beg anyone to love Him. That would be beneath God's character. God is perfect. we accept Jesus Christ, it's our choice. There was something about us that God still loved. He didn't give up on us. No, we were punished and lost our immortality and were thrown out of the Garden of Eden. And but God gave us had to put a plan in place with His Son, because He still saw something in man, the man and the woman. I think they regretted what they did. I'm pretty sure they did. It doesn't really give you a lot there, but I strongly gather that they really regretted what they did. There really isn't a lot of dialogue there. God put a path for us to be redeemed through His Son, Jesus Christ. He made a way for us. But like with the fallen angels, like with Adam and Eve, like with you and I, it's our choice. We have free will. So, I mean, what good is love if you've got to force someone to love you? It's not love, is it? When somebody's compelled. So that's about all I wanted to share with this. Just a little message. Take care and God bless each of you.